How does a college dropout go from $12 in his name to 5 home service businesses, 400 locations, and $30 million worth of revenue?
I would go knock on doors until somebody gave me a job for the next day.
Steven's journey was filled with setbacks until one life-changing discovery.
And so that first year we did over 100,000 in sales, and then it kind of grew up to about $500,000.
See how 30 minutes of work got him hired by an entire neighborhood.
You have to give customers a story to tell if you're going to get them to refer you. She was so blown away.
Discover the 5 crucial steps to making your first million without spending a dime on paid ads.
Yeah, I call it the 5 hours of revenue.
And at last, uncover the biggest mistake that's losing you customers. No.
The sad fact is that doing a good job won't always get you a 5-star review. And I remember thinking, I don't even have the money to go to Hawaii today, but if I wanted to, I could.
All right, Steven, before we get into your story of starting with just 12 bucks in your pocket, literally, tell us a little bit about what you do and what is ResiBrands.
Yeah, so ResiBrands is a platform brand for a few trades franchises. So we're in the home service space. We do painting, window cleaning, and garage services, so like garage doors.
Okay. Anything else you're adding to it?
Yeah, we got 2 new brands about to launch. One's a handyman concept, and the other is a roofing concept. And so those are coming soon. But altogether, ResiBrands is already just shy of 500 franchise units.
Well, across the 3 businesses.
Yes, across the 3 and across the nation.
And how fast did you get there?
The last 3 years. Yeah, so
that's fast.
For a decade, I was a local painting company, started franchising in 2021, and we've grown to almost 500 franchise units in the last 3 years.
Amazing. I can't wait to understand that process, that journey, and how you got there to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you.
So how does a 21-year-old college dropout with 12 bucks in his pocket start multiple multi-million-dollar businesses? What's your story?
I was doing some subcontracting work for another company that had me pressure washing homes every day, and I was sitting in my truck after washing a house. I'm covered in water and bleach, sweat, and it's hot outside, and it was like 2 weeks after my honeymoon, and I was like, I have to build something for myself. I called my wife, and at the time I thought I had one like a side job that I could do on the weekend. It was like $2,700, so I thought, oh, we're good. I'll get a deposit on that. We'll have the cash. That'll be kind of the seed money into the business. But we only had 12 bucks in our account.
Literally.
Literally. And I convinced my wife to let me quit my job. I kind of did some napkin sort of math and called her, and I was like, I gotta quit. I figured out with what you make at Starbucks, that'll cover rent. If tips are good, it'll cover groceries.
Worst case scenario,
Worst case, right? And I'm like, I'll figure out the rest. I will knock on doors. I will cold call real estate agents. I will make this work. And she was like, okay, let's go for it. We made that decision over the phone. So I picked up my phone, I called my boss, and I was like, hey, this is the last job I'm ever doing. The customer's happy. I'm gonna go home. I'm done.
Good on your part.
Yeah, but what happened was that job that I thought I had booked, right after I quit, I got a call, and the guy goes, hey, I sold the home, I don't need it painted anymore. And so I was down to 12 bucks, no jobs, nothing. So I would go knock on doors until somebody gave me a job for the next day. If I knocked on this door, they gave me a small job, I would then talk to the neighbor while I was here, and I would start earning more business. The customers would refer me.
Tell us a little bit about this job. What is it costing the customer? What's your margin on it? Anything else you want to highlight?
100%. So this is a 1-story exterior job. There's a good amount of stone, but you can see there's a lot of siding and soffit that needs painted as well.
It all,
Yeah, so they're prepping it all. It's gonna be a color change, brighten it up a little bit. $3,700.
37. Okay.
Gross profit after we pay our subcontractors and pay for materials is gonna be about 50%.
50%. Okay.
Yep.
And how long would this job take, and how many guys on the job site?
2 guys here right now. They'll be done in a day and a half.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah, let's go check it out.
All right. When you first started, did you have success right away with the painting company? And can you give us a quick year-over-year revenue for that? One Painter's the company name, right?
I had success early on just from the door knocking and some of that stuff I mentioned. And then there was a moment where I remember not having a lot of jobs for that week. And I woke up in the morning and started playing Skyrim. I remember I'm like 70-some% through the game. I'm like, wait a second, I'm a business owner. I'm never gonna be successful sitting here on the couch playing video games. And so I made a rule for myself at that time that if the sun was up, I had to work. I would get up before the sun, get ready, get to Sherwin-Williams, pick up the paint all day, and then if I had time after the job, I would go out and do estimates and door knock and call real estate agents until it was dark. And I did that for a while, and eventually I was so busy and was able to start hiring friends and stuff that I didn't have to really have that rule anymore. But that rule helped me just get the grind going, start hustling every day. And so that first year we did over 100,000 in sales, and then it kind of grew up to about $500,000 over the next few years. Started doing 300, 400, 500, and that's where I got really comfortable, was doing that 400 or 500 phase. And I got a CRM, team. I started getting organized. I started writing SOPs for my painters, and quickly I doubled my crews.
And that's what went from 5 to...
Yeah, doubled my crews, started doing, you know, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a month. Got really overwhelmed, so I was like, I'm gonna hire. It's actually my cousin. He ended up later on becoming co-founder of some of the other stuff we did with like Resi, and hired him. He came on as a project manager. I did all the sales. He did all the project management. I hired an admin at the same time. So I went from me and a few subcontractors to me now in a team.
Yeah,
and then we doubled revenue again, doubled revenue again, and then the last few years it's just been scaling through franchising now.
What are the biggest mistakes when you first started scaling that first business?
Yeah, it's probably early on not trusting others to do their jobs well. I would get to a job and realize that I don't like the way that painter's brushing out that wall or whatever, and so I'd be like, hey, let me get the brush.
Get involved.
And then I would, instead of just training him, I'd be like, you go do something else. I'm gonna finish this wall, you know?
And then you find yourself 6 hours later finishing
exactly, a lot of that kind of stuff.
All right, so what is this project all about? Give us a brief overview of Garage Up.
We started a second home service company, which is Garage Up. We started by offering epoxy floors. We then started doing like, you know, this hex lighting, the slat walls, and then now we also do install and repair garage doors. So we're
this is
the first ever garage renovation franchise. And so we kind of do everything that you would need in a garage. So there's some of the luxury elements
too, right?
But also like your garage door needs to open. So it's a bit of, you get both sides of necessity and luxury in this brand.
How big is the company now?
So the company has like 15 total units. So it's our smallest brand. It's not growing as fast as Pink's or as fast as that one painter, but it's starting to pick up a lot of momentum. We signed 10 of those in the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
So
yeah.
The problem with Garage Up was that we started with just epoxy floors, and the idea was garage upgrade. And then we've switched to now garage doors as our main focus.
I see.
Garage door repair can be like $800, $1,200 sometimes just to come in and repair the springs and all that kind of stuff.
And it's a necessity. You have to have it.
And most customers won't do it themselves. But then you can also sell new garage doors. And a new garage door can be anywhere from $2,000 to 15 grand.
Yep.
And when we made that switch and really got the systems down for that, revenue is going up, interest from franchisees has gone up.
Interesting.
Because now it's a necessity brand with luxury upgrades.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot better business investment.
When and why did you decide to franchise the one painter company?
Yeah, so I was growing rapidly. I had grown to, you know, a few million a year. I started working with a business coach, and we were going to send my cousin Alan, who works with me, and we're going to send him to San Antonio to open up a second location. That was the original plan. Then we were going to open up some corporate locations in Houston, Dallas, and Oklahoma City. And then a friend of mine who owned a pest control company, he's like, you should read the book, The E-Myth. And the E-Myth goes through how systems, processes, and all that are really important for a business. But by the end of the book, he convinces you that franchising is the best form of business. Because the best product is business itself. And in franchising, you switch from your product being painting or garage doors to the business model. That's your product. And I fell in love with that idea because instead of hiring a whole bunch of like managers who worked for me, I instead could empower and train franchisees who get to build their own business and be a part of our brand. And of course they pay us some royalties and stuff, so we're making money as well. But it was a lot more rewarding to me to think about coaching people, empowering people.
What are some key lessons and takeaways when you were going through the transition of franchising, right?
Yeah.
In terms of systems, SOPs, I mean, there must have been a lot.
I think one of the things that happens to people when they're trying to write SOPs is they start to overthink and they think it needs to be like perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be helpful.
Gotcha.
And to treat it like a living document. It's okay, create one that gets somebody trained and going, then edit it, update it, tweak it, right? Sometimes you're not even quite sure, and then you start writing the SOP and you're like, oh wait, hold on, I got it now. This is what we need to do. And so it's a way of you really showing I've got my system dialed. I'm also able to train and replicate that system through another person. Then ultimately you can always change it later. You're not locked into it.
How did you get your first customers when you first got started? So no ad spend, not a lot of cash, 12 bucks in his pocket. What were some effective strategies?
Yeah, I call it the 5 R's of revenue. First one for me was real estate agents, and then referrals. So real estate agents, happy customers, whoever would start referring me. Then it was repeat business because like painting wasn't a reoccurring revenue model, but I could paint the inside of the house. 6 months later, they could have me paint the outside or the cabinet. So there was a lot of repeat business. Then it was like reputation, which now online is reviews. So that's that one. And then the fifth one is relationships. People, when they're starting a business, are very hesitant to work for friends and family or do jobs for them. You shouldn't be. You need to get the practice in. You need a customer. If it's your mom, do the job. That's just not a boundary that I've ever been scared of crossing.
As Steven mentions later on, marketing isn't a silver bullet, and if you're wasting time obsessing over your logo, colors, or even website, you're doing it wrong. You could have a professional site up in minutes using today's sponsor who made this interview possible, Hostinger. Let's pretend I'm building a website for Steven's painting business. I select the AI website builder, add the business name, describe what we're after, and it's done. Sleek, modern website to your specifications within seconds. What if you need to tweak something? Well, it's as simple as drag and drop. Want to sell products? The Business Plan e-commerce features have you covered. Writer's block got you stuck? Fire up the AI Writer for instant content. Need an image? Generate one in seconds with AI. Stop wasting months building a website and get yours up instantly. Head over to hostinger.com/upflip and use code UpFlip to claim a deal of a lifetime. Again, that's hostinger.com/upflip, and make sure to use our coupon code at checkout for an exclusive discount. There's still time for you to get your hands on their crazy sale. All right, Blitz time with Steven. You ready?
Yeah.
What's the most unusual request you've received from a franchisee?
I had a franchisee get a custom song made by Froggy Fresh.
Okay.
Anyways, makes ridiculous songs.
And they wanted what?
He wanted to run ads with it and stuff, and so
okay.
It was pretty cheesy.
Okay, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received about running a business?
At the end of the day, you're only as good as your team, and you're only as good as the weakest link on your team.
What's one thing about franchises that may surprise most people?
Most people don't understand what franchising is. They don't even know that the NBA is a franchise. And that a franchise is really a group that holds together a brand, and everybody gets to own a piece of it. And so I think most people don't understand that your local McDonald's is actually owned by somebody probably locally there.
All right. What's one home service business you wish you had? Dun, 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 dun. You gotta have at least
flooring.
Flooring, okay.
Yeah, for sure, flooring.
All right. Do you have a secret talent or hobby that most people don't know about?
I'm really good at slacklining,
really?
Which is like you set up a tightrope between two.
See that in action, okay.
I'm very good at it.
Last one. What would you do if you had to start from zero again?
If I had to start from zero again, I would do the same thing. I would just do it a lot faster.
All right. There you go. What's your top advice to your entire team when it comes to specifically closing sales?
As much as you can in home services, you want to give the price on the spot. If you're able to close them on the spot, so I say, hey, this epoxy floor is going to be $2,500. I can start Monday. Does that work for you? That's the real goal. We want to give you a quote while we're there and leave with a check. That's not always possible. Sometimes the customer needs more time. They need to think. They need to talk to a spouse. So that's where the 21 touch points comes in. We are very diligent in our sales process, and so we will follow up with a customer 7 times, and each time with 3 touch points. So the first thing is I'm going to call them. If I don't get a hold of them, I'm going to hang up and call again. You don't leave a voicemail.
Right away.
Double dial. Always double dial. And if you're a really good salesman, you have 2 cell phones or an internet number, and you have 2 phone numbers, and you call them 4 times.
I see everybody laughing.
You
got to be aggressive in this business in a good way.
The entire point of sales is to get a response from the customer.
Because everybody else is knocking on.
And I'm not saying the entire point of sales is to sell. The entire point is the way you get sales is get people to talk to you.
Right.
And so if you don't get a response, you're going to fail. And so you double dial, and then if you don't get a hold of them, if you really are aggressive, you can get a second phone number, double dial with that one.
I'm going to triple dial when I
Triple dial. Second call, leave a voicemail, immediately send a text message. Then the text message, that's the second touch. Then I'm going to go into our CRM and re-email the estimate. Every single time you're going to change the subject. If you're not changing the subject on your emails when you're doing follow-ups, you're doing it wrong. Every single subject needs to be different, even if you're sending the same quote and the same follow-up.
Well, don't spill all the beans yet.
Yeah, I know, they got to pay for the
They can always reach out to you. They can always become a franchisee and get to know the whole 21 touch, but like...
And that's the 3 touches. So call, text, email. When you email, you always resend the bid. Those 3, you do that 7 times. The 7th one, the voicemail, the email, and the text message say, this is my final reach out. I will close your account. Your price will no longer be valid. That final one, you will be shocked how many people call.
Really?
Because most people, you just didn't hit them at the right time, or they're thinking, like, I got time to reach out to them. And then that 7th one always needs to end with, your price is no longer valid because I haven't heard from you. I'm closing your account.
That's fair.
That always gets you responses.
You've put in all that effort.
Yes.
Got to give them closure.
Exactly.
Is it more important for an entrepreneur to be a great salesperson or a great leader? What skill do you think makes the biggest impact? Comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Cool. We're here at the office location.
Yeah.
I'm excited to check it out. Before we get over there, let's talk about the most profitable services that your companies offer. Because we've seen the painting side of it, we've seen the garage side of it.
Yeah.
What would you say has the highest profit margins and why?
Highest profit margins are typically going to be like something like pressure washing or a garage door repair is super profitable.
What are the profit margins?
Like maybe like 70%.
Wow. So a quarter of our audience mentioned that the fear of failure is a reason for not starting or pursuing a business idea that they've always had. What do you say to them? I'm sure you've heard this a lot.
That's the risk of business, man. Like fear of failure. I mean, they say the price of regret is a lot more expensive. I think every single
I wish I would have done that.
Yes. So
just go out and do it, you guys.
Do it for your future self. Do it for your family. Do it for those who matter to you, and step out and take the risk.
You deal with entrepreneurs on a daily basis. I'm curious, what traits have you noticed amongst some of the most successful entrepreneurs?
The most successful entrepreneurs have a strong level of leadership. So they're comfortable building a team, managing a team, holding a team accountable, as well as the most successful entrepreneurs really value accountability, and they are willing to hold themselves accountable first, and then also their team. I also have found that the more analytically minded people who can really pay attention to the details, over time that really pays off in profitability and them following a process with an entire team.
All right, we are now at your office. How many square feet are we talking about here, Steven?
31,000 square feet.
That's good, because you got room to expand.
Yep.
That pretty much looks empty, so I'm guessing
that
that's
whole
the
side's
spot.
eventually going to turn into like a training center.
Awesome. Well, these look really cool. So you got T1P, Pinks, and Garage Up.
That's right.
2 more coming.
2 more coming.
Obviously, this has grown substantially with over how many locations at this point?
Almost 400.
Almost 400. So we're not counting Pinks or Garage Up on locations.
Yes, there's about 100 here, close to 100.
Wow.
And 15 over here. So
Florida.
just shy of 500 between the 3.
Wow, man, you've done a lot. People are probably wondering, well, it's easier to start this business, that business once you've built an incredible team. If you didn't have the team, how would things look? If you were to start something today, what are some crucial steps to get going, especially like validating a business idea?
Yeah, if I was to do it all over and start by myself, I would just focus on the offer. And so you want to make sure that you really dial in that system, you dial in the processes, scaling something becomes significantly easier.
So you have John Maxwell, the world's best leadership coach, not only as a mentor for you, but all of the franchises. How in the world did that happen? That's amazing.
Yeah, so I've been a big fan of John Maxwell. His books were really influential in my life. I had an executive assistant a couple years ago that was trying to reach out to see if he could speak at our event. This was our first event we had done, so it was gonna be a really small event. And so she reached out and the news wasn't great. And so she was somehow got on a call though with his chief of staff. And she was like, I don't think you understand how important John Maxwell is to our company. And we go through his laws every single staff meeting. We give his books to every single franchisee. And he goes, hey, you know what? Let me get on a call with Steven. So he gets on a call with me. He says, why don't you fly out, do a video with John Maxwell. You can use that for like your stuff with your franchisees.
You flew to him?
Yep. So I flew out to him. We went to a studio. We filmed a video. At the end of the video, we were going to use it for our event and stuff. And him and I were just connecting. And I started casting a vision about what we're building, what we're doing. And so he goes, Steven, I've got an idea. Give me your cell phone number. We'll talk more tomorrow.
So when Steven was talking to me about the team, I said I would be glad to come along as a mentor. And I thought how great it would be to take a young organization like yours, teach them the right way in the beginning, and then watch them build the business.
So he's at our convention, but he also does monthly, like Zoom calls with us all. And it's been phenomenal.
What kind of value does that bring or impact does it have on the business?
I mean, it's made me better. It's made our coaches better. It's made our team members better. It's made our franchisees perform better. They're in the right mindset more often because of his classes. So it's just one of those things I think it has tons of value because people are learning how to be better leaders, build better teams, and ultimately that can mean a lot more revenue.
That's amazing. In what ways would you say your leadership style has evolved from the lessons you've learned from Mr. Maxwell?
The initial thing that I kind of always learned reading his books and stuff was a lot about empowerment. He has a law called the law of momentum that meant a lot to me when I read his first leadership book. Momentum is one of the hardest things in the world to create, and so you got to focus on building it. And once you can build it, you can build things that are almost an unstoppable force if you do it right. So that was one of the things that I really took to heart. But once we started the mentoring sessions with him, he did one in January of this year on accountability that was I mean, it blew my mind. Like, I realized every single problem we had in our company came down to an accountability problem. You know, when you're a leader and you're growing, you're trying to encourage your team, you're trying to get them excited, then there's another side of it. The whole thing will fall through if there's not a solid level of accountability. Yeah, I think he kind of explained it as like, accountability is the bottom of the bucket that holds everything in. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much water you put in, it's all gonna go out.
In 21, you started franchising.
That's right.
2024, you guys over 400 locations, which is simply incredible.
Actually, we're about to hit 500.
How did you achieve that? What was it about ResiBrands that made people jump on the opportunity and be so excited about it?
Somebody was asking me that recently. They're like, what is your sales process? And he was like, your offer must be so good because this isn't even the best sales process for selling franchises.
What does it boil down to?
And it's like, that's exactly the point. Like, it's really easy to sell something if it's something that people really want, right? And so we've just gone above and beyond for our franchisees. When you have really happy franchisees, you have a system that works, you have branding that's on fire that people and customers really react well to. And then we've done things like we brought in the #1 leadership voice in the world to come be a part of ResiBrands as a mentor. That's John Maxwell. So we just have so many things that are going on at Resi that stand out from the rest.
For those of you interested in becoming a ResiBrand franchisee, they've been kind enough to offer an incredible exclusive deal for the UpFlip viewers. So make sure to check out the details in the description below. All right, so onboarding hundreds of franchisees within a matter of a couple of years, Steven.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Let's talk about the importance of dealing with stress as an entrepreneur. What are your tips and advice to those watching who may find themselves in a tornado in the next couple of weeks as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
If you have a huge amount of growth in a short period of time, like, it's going to be stressful. In business, you see this rapid growth that we saw, hundreds of franchisees coming in, all these territories being launched, multiple brands. It was super stressful. But for me, at any moment where I'm like, this is hard, I just simplify my mind down to the most basic things of like what's really important to me. And so when you hit a different set of problems or whatever, you just remind yourself like, hey, like, Life is about the simple things with your kids, with your wife, with God, and centering yourself on that, and everything else becomes not as big of a problem as you could make it up into your mind to be.
Right. So with all these deals, Steven, that you've been a part of, what are your top tips for negotiation, maybe in business, life?
Negotiation?
Yeah, and maybe even the ResiBrand franchise.
Negotiations, people think oftentimes it's about getting what you want out of it. And actually the first thing you need to start with negotiations is really solidifying and understanding what they're wanting. Because if you can get to the core of what they're wanting or needing, you can find out quickly if there even is a deal. Does that make sense? Like, you have to actually figure out what are they really unmovable on, what really matters to them, and then you can work any sort of deal around that.
Can you think of any specific examples maybe that you can highlight for us as far as actual negotiations you were part of? You had a light bulb moment and you're like, oh wow, I can make this happen.
I mean, I could give you one. So like our deal with Pinks, it was super important to the founder that he had a lot of control over how the brand looked. I was like, well, it looks amazing, you're great at it, so duh. Like, you can have that part.
Not gonna be
he wanted a strong voice in that. And so like, and as we dug, like that was like the critical thing for one of them. Like and I'm like, well, I can easily give you that because you're amazing at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you start to build the structure around other things that maybe we needed on our side as ResiBrands.
It's a win-win. Yeah. Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before we hit your studio, right, which is where you record what podcasts, you do all kinds of other shoots. Talk to us a little bit about what's behind you.
These are antiques I've been slowly buying. My wife bought a lot of them for me too. But like these are like, this is like 1942. That's a 1950s brush.
1942?
Yeah, they have character. They have different colors, different types of wood. If you get all the new ones, they all look kind of the same.
Well, let's go check out the studio.
Absolutely.
Cool. So what was the plan or the idea for creating this space, Steven?
Started filming like a couple little podcast stuff. We also do like training sessions, we take headshots, we run ads, so.
That's a good space. So how has business and really the financial success changed who you are, maybe your viewpoints on certain things? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed me much. I drive a nicer truck.
What kind of truck, by the way?
A TRX, so that was like my splurge.
A monster.
But no, the truth is a little bit nicer lifestyle, but not like crazy.
Share with the audience a little bit about what you shared with me off camera. I think that's amazing as far as your upbringing. And just in a quick nutshell, you've been to how many countries before you were 14?
I think it was like nearly 27 or something like that.
Wow,
and so
27 countries before
Yeah.
Age of 14.
Yeah, between the ages of like 3 and 14, we traveled a lot of the world. We lived in Russia, Kenya, and Australia, but we visited a lot of other countries when I was a
Gotcha.
kid.
And that's because your parents were missionaries.
Yeah, that's right.
What else can you share with us as far as how your upbringing contributed to your success today? Is it instilled certain values, perspectives that are really a core thing for you even moving forward today? What is it?
It made me just really accustomed to risk and change. And
Risk
so
and
I think I like, whereas a lot of people like, it's very hard for them to take risks or change things when needed. Like, we lived in deep parts of African villages. I went to school in a mud hut with other kids and ate beans and corn for lunch. But I remember one time our house was kind of on top of this hill and there was like a valley that was below it, and this was in Kenya. And that valley was full of like baboons, like warthogs, zebras, all that kind of stuff. So much so like zebras took out our fence once. And
Jeez.
My brother and I, eventually we got my mom convinced that we were safe to go down there, because originally she was like, you can't go down there. We're like, we're gonna go down there.
Yeah. You
We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so we were like, we made our own like little spears and we were trying to like throw them at baboons and stuff. And
I just, experience.
Yeah, just like a lot of different experiences that led to me being fairly comfortable with taking some level of risk in business, stepping out, being comfortable with change. Because in business, especially when you're rapidly growing, you got to change things quick. You got to make decisions quickly. And I think I just naturally, from the way I was raised, was fairly comfortable with that.
Very cool. Finding incredible entrepreneurs like Steven is no easy feat. So if you take a second, like and subscribe, it not only tells our team that we're doing a great job, but it helps us bring more and more incredible entrepreneurs and insights for you guys. So take a second, like and subscribe, and keep watching. Tell us about that moment when you painted an entire neighborhood working just 30 minutes a day, right?
Yeah. Well, so what it was
How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was doing one job for this older couple. It was a community that you had to be like 65 or older to live in the community. It was 40 homes. I was doing one job and I was painting the outside of it, and I did a great job for them. They said to me, then you need to go across the street and talk to Joanne. Joanne was like a 93-year-old woman. She needed some stuff done in her home. But while I was doing that job for her, I changed some light bulbs. I was like, hey, I've got the ladder out. I dusted some high ledges. I also noticed like there was some cracks in like where her backsplash and her tile were meeting up against the cabinets. And so I picked up a bottle of grout caulking basically, and I just paid for it myself and fixed that stuff for her without telling her. She was so blown away. She like introduced me to like the HOA president and started telling the whole neighborhood about us. And so like over the next year and a half, I ended up doing work on basically every single home in that neighborhood.
What's the lesson for entrepreneurs watching about that experience?
You have to give customers a story to tell if you're going to get them to refer you. But you have to give them a story, and so go a little above and beyond. And it's thoughtfulness specifically. Like if you show that you're being thoughtful and you're caring for them as a human, that's when people really feel appreciated and will talk about you a lot.
Yeah. How does that differ from real estate agents, which is your first R?
Real estate agents were critical to the growth of my business and the growth of our franchisees' business. And the reason is that real estate agents know everybody who's getting their house painted.
For sure.
So like a lot of times homes are painted when it's bought and when it's sold. And so they're right there at that transaction as a trusted third-party voice where they can refer us to that customer. More than that, realtors know everybody else that I want to know. I want to know an interior designer. I want to know a roofer. I want to know a flooring company. That realtor, if I build a good relationship with them, can make all those introductions for me. And so the real estate agent, I realized early on, was that key person that if I built a relationship with, I'd get tons of referrals.
Awesome. 5 home service businesses under your belt. What's your top advice for marketing?
My top advice for marketing is to not be completely dependent on marketing. Get out there, make your customers happy, and you'll get a ton of referrals. I think that is the #1 thing that you need to do in order to be successful in what we do.
Don't focus on marketing?
Don't focus on marketing. Focus on customers having a great experience, and they will go do all the marketing for you. They can tell their friends and family, they can tell all the neighbors. But then from there, with your marketing, you want to do something that stands out. Have a great brand. Just look at Pinks or look at That One Painter compared to most painting companies or most window washing companies or Garage Up. It feels like it was a brand ready for the next age of consumerism and the next generation of homeowners. And so focus on the brand, focus on your customers. If you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting for Google or Facebook to send you a lead, you're probably not going to be a great business owner.
So one of the 5 R's that you mentioned is reviews and reputation. Share with us how one not only gets the best reviews, but also protects his reputation moving forward.
The sad fact is that doing a good job won't always get you a 5-star review.
That's a bummer.
People will very gladly and without you asking go leave you a 1-star if you do a bad job. But you could do the best job in the world, and then you'll say, could you write me a review? And they'll say, yeah, sure. And then they won't. Right, and they won't do it. We always text people the link while we're there with them in person and say, hey, I just texted you something. Do you mind opening up your phone? And they'll pop open their phone and we'll say, can you click on that link for me real quick? And they'll click on it and it'll be our link tree with all of our review sites. And we say, hey, can you click on the Google one first and just smash the 5-star?
Telling them, instructing them.
Literally walking them through what to do. Because before I start that conversation, I'm like, hey, has everything been great? How's my team done? They'll be like, yeah, everything's awesome. Okay, cool. I just sent you a text. And that's how I walk through that flow with them. And then that's how we get a lot of reviews, is because we're making sure that we're doing it. And we make it a personal request. So people write reviews and do referrals when they like the people, not just the service.
Why home services? Why not tech, food, a plethora of other business options?
Yeah, I think for me, my dad painted homes for a little bit when I was in high school, so I'd help him out on the weekends. Now looking at it, I think home services is a phenomenal place to build a business. I think homes are more valuable than they've ever been. They're the larger percentage of a homeowner's income than they've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Home services and taking care of your home has become more expensive than ever before. So there's this really strong demand of customers for great contractors and great tradesmen. And so we can meet that need by offering professional, consistent service all over the country through our franchise system.
Yeah, it's a big market. Are there any unusual sales tactics that have worked for you in the past?
The worst part about being in any sales role is getting ghosted by the customer, right?
Right.
And so if we're not hearing from a customer or whatever, we'll like send a GIF or a little meme or something of a ghost and say, hey, please don't ghost us.
Oh, it's actually a little ghost toy?
Just text it. Yeah, like no, that we've done that too. Or we've done where we've even dropped off bags of nuts and it says, I'm going nuts, waiting to hear from you.
That's
so we've done like just little funny little things like that that work really well. The whole point of like doing follow-ups isn't to say things like, hey, I'm just checking in, I'm just following up. Your goal is to solicit a response, and one of the ways that you can solicit a response is get them to laugh or stand out.
Humor
goes every other painter is texting, hey, just checking in, how are things? And I'm sending a photo of Bob Ross saying, my best painter's ready for you.
That's quite a difference.
It's a big difference.
Response-wise,
So it's just a small little sales tactic that works.
That's cool. Yeah, try different things. What works, and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's exactly
right.
Throw
it in the back burner. What's a widely held entrepreneurial belief that you disagree with?
That marketing is a silver bullet.
Marketing is a silver bullet.
Yeah, I think people think that if I just get a Facebook ad up, if I can get my Google ads down, then everything will work out. And marketing is super important, super valuable, but it's not a silver bullet. If you do marketing really well, you get a whole bunch of customers and you get everybody to know about you. But if you do marketing and that's the only thing you're doing well, all you're doing is telling the world how bad you are. Right? So you have to actually...
And spending a lot of money doing it too.
You're spending a whole lot of money telling everybody how bad you are. So it's really about the quality, it's really about the customer experience, and then you add marketing on top of those things, and it will help you grow, but it is not a silver bullet that's gonna carry your business. You need to really focus on building a great team, making customers really happy, and from there, things can really scale.
What is the most fulfilling part about being an entrepreneur, and how do you stay motivated, especially during tough times?
Yeah, for me, it's the freedom of being an entrepreneur. Sometimes, people joke that you leave your 9 to 5 so that you can work 24/7, but you get to choose. You still get to choose. And if I wanted to choose to take a few days off tomorrow, I can do that because I'm the business owner, right? And it's the sense of freedom and the sense of that autonomy in my life that I have as an entrepreneur that even at early years when sometimes I was like, man, it would be a lot easier to just go work for somebody else. I remember even getting a pretty good job offer once because there was like a down month. I was kind of not in the best headspace, and my dad kind of made some phone calls and he's like, hey, this guy will hire you. It was more than I was making doing my own business. And I remember thinking,
that's tempting.
And I remember thinking, I don't even have the money to go to Hawaii today, but if I wanted to, I could. I could just leave. And I remember thinking that's really valuable to me. Mm-hmm. The fact that I have that freedom. And so to me, I think entrepreneurism represents freedom, and so that's the most valuable part.
What about what's the worst part, if anything?
The worst part is that you're a slave to your business.
Yeah. Like you said, 9 to 5 to 24/7.
Exactly. There's the worst part is there's other times where you have no option but just to grind and get it done. And so there's going to be times where you have all this freedom, and there's going to be times where you feel like you're kind of enslaved to the business to fix a problem or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is so worth it.
Want to get started with painting like Steven did? Well, episode 201 with Brandon is one you cannot miss. He reveals everything he did to start a $4 million a year painting company from scratch. Take a second to like and subscribe. We appreciate you watching, and see you next time.